Thank you very much, and welcome to the 7th grade concert. Thank you for coming out tonight. This is the 7th grade orchestra, and my name is Jennifer Greenleaf. I direct the 6th and 7th grade orchestras here. That was a piece called Fan Dance, and it definitely used some advanced technique playing. That's what we really focus on in 7th grade, is using advanced techniques on our instrument to start to play more difficult leveled music. That piece incorporated some new rhythms as well as styles of playing. So you heard a lot of pizzicato playing, which makes sense. This is actually based on a Japanese style of dancing with fans, and it's by a really cool female composer who's also Japanese. So our next piece is a waltz. A waltz is a style of music in 3/4 time that's usually, again, something to dance to. And this is called Alison's Waltz. Level students, it's a great time in their musical career to start thinking about actually taking maybe some private lessons on their instrument. I mean, it's not something that's required, and we do our best to teach lessons, like individual and group lessons here during the school day. But if your child is looking for something a little bit extra to do, private lessons are a great way to start. We have private lessons not only with some high school tutors, just like you might get a high school tutor for math, you can actually get a high school tutor for violin. And it's a perfect way for, first of all, for them to work with some fine high school students. And second of all, just to get a little extra practice time on their instrument. It's another way for them to play different music. So I hear a lot that some of my students are tired of playing the same 3 songs. I don't blame them. That's a really good way to play some exciting music written perfectly for their instrument. If you have any interest or questions about this type of program, you can ask any of the staff members. And we'd happily set you up with a high school tutor or one of our professional instrument lesson tutors at the high school. So let us know about that. The other thing we'll say, as you'll see later, we have a jazz band here, and we have some after-school musical things that students can do, and I highly encourage any student to take advantage of those. It's something that most middle schools don't actually have. So if they're interested, I'll take any instrument in the jazz band. It doesn't have to be a jazz instrument. And same thing goes for some of the Ahern singers, which we'll probably hear about later. So our last song is called Gauntlet. It's a song that is in a very difficult key for the string instruments. That means they're playing on different sides of fingerings on their instrument from totally different what they've played the last 2 years. The piece is very cool sounding, and it's one of our personal favorites, so we hope you enjoy Gauntlet.
Thank you very much for your patience as we switch the stage over. As you can see, we've got a lot of students to move around and a lot of moving parts to it. So we appreciate it very much. My name is Robert Flynn. I'm one of the music teachers here. This is the 6th grade band and the 7th grade band. So now you get to hear the 7th grade band in our first piece, Chorale and Mystic Chapter.
Thank you very much. So just really quick to play off of what Miss Greenleaf was saying about the 7th grade orchestra, we in 7th grade band essentially do the same thing as we get older and we move through our instrumental music curriculum. We start to expand our range on the instrument, how high, how low we can play, how fast we play, what our fingers do, and really the individual accountability really steps up a couple notches as we come into 7th grade. Beyond that, we also learn a lot more than we did in 5th and 6th grade about listening, and really critical listening. What does it mean to not just hear, but listen to the sound you're making as well as the sounds of the people around you, and how are you adjusting what you're playing based on what you're hearing. That's really what critical listening is that we try to teach in all of our music ensembles. This next piece is called Gathering in the Glen, and it's a collection of 3 different Scottish folk songs. You'll hear in it as well, in 7th grade, we really start to focus on changing key signatures and using more notes at our disposal, as well as changing time signatures and tempos, how fast or slow we play. So here's Gathering in the Glen. Thank you. And just one final note before we play our last piece. To echo again what Ms. Greenleaf said, yes, we have a private lesson program, and especially these students studying with the high school students we find to be really effective, not just to mirror their musical abilities, but also their personal characteristics. We're talking about some of the best students in the high school in Foxboro that are in our music program that your students could be sitting with if they decide to take private, or are able to take private lessons with them. And secondly, just a note, it's around this time of year where, especially I find in 7th grade, students tend to really question if this is what they want to continue to do, at least through the rest of the year, if not through middle school or high school. We really encourage that students continue to play through middle school, if not longer, but definitely at least through the end of their 7th grade year. This can be a really tricky time in life, as we all know, and I'm sure you all remember. That 7th grade year is when we really start to question kind of who we are and what we do. But I'll just remind you, parents, you can really help us out by sometimes you have to nudge your students to do these things, just like we do to clean their room or brush teeth or any other chores, and you can really help to make sure that they're playing at home so that they're having a lot of success, and then in turn coming to school having success. I've met a lot of adults who used to play instruments, and I always ask them if they still play, and usually the answer is no. And then I say, well, what happened? And then they say, well, I quit. And then it's usually followed by, I wish I kept playing. And I've never met an adult who said, you know, I'm really glad I quit in 7th grade. It worked out well for me. I usually find a lot of regret in older people for not continuing to play. So parents, you can really help us to make sure that we continue to sing or play or whatever it is we do and stay actively involved in making music. So our last piece is called Shockwave, and I've told this group that our job is to play it so at the fastest tempo we can, that it puts it right on the edge of maybe falling apart. Hopefully we don't, but we want it to be right there, exciting the whole time, so that we get that feeling of excitement that music can bring us. Thank you again for supporting your child's music education, and here is Shockwave.
7th grade chorus. I'm Kirsten Overroy. I direct all of the choruses here at Ahern. And our first piece for you will be Clap Your Hands and Sing. We go in the 7th grade from being an all-treble voice group to an SAB group, where our voices are changing, and unlike our instruments that we purchase, we have to go with the one that's inside of us, and that changes along with us. So through that, we have to readjust our ears and readjust our technique to make sure that we have excellent technique and we're singing in tune through all of these changes. So our next piece, you'll hear a little bit of different harmonies and different rhythmic aspects as we're learning all of these things on top of getting handed a sort of new instrument after we've already learned to play another one. This is a wonderful set of 3 pieces, but we're only going to do 2 of the 3, and it's in Spanish, so enjoy Tres Canciones y los Elementos.
Escuchar a
we buy or hold in our hands, we don't have buttons. So we actually have to pull pitches out of thin air and make them happen. This takes a little bit of maneuvering and training, but this is a really fun piece, totally at 7th grade level. And I'd like to also just echo my colleagues in saying that now is a great time to think about private instruction. Because through these changes, we want to make sure that they don't get discouraged because their instrument sounds a little different. And if you are interested in any information, feel free to reach out to any of us. Without further ado, bon seada. Thank you very much. That was Caitlin on alto, Molly on trombone, Alvin on trumpet, Liam on vibes, and Emma on alto saxophone. Thank you very much. So I'm back, and this is the jazz band. We are an after-school ensemble, and we are an ensemble that incorporates all grade levels, 5 through 8. Will you raise your hand if you're in 6th grade, 7th, 8th? So we actually have a pretty good amount of 6th, 7th, and 8th graders actually all performing in the same ensemble. Can you raise your hand if this is your first time playing jazz? Can you raise your hand if you just took your first solo? Evan, yeah, so we actually have people. Thank you. We actually have students creating their own music up here. They are not reading music, and they never had music to memorize. They're actually making up their own improvised solos based upon the music of Oye Como Va, which is a famous song. You probably recognize it from the version of Carlos Santana. Anyway, I think that's very exciting for somebody who just joined jazz a couple months ago to already be up here playing in front of you all. And that's one of the best things about jazz band, is that ability to be able to play by yourself and in small groups like this. So, the next piece we're going to play for you is a very classic blues swing tune, and it's called Blues Machine. Thank you very much. We really appreciate it. I thought I'd just mention to those of you in 7th grade and parents out there that there is plenty of space open in the jazz band, and this is an excellent time to join as we'll start some new music next week. And it would be like really cool if you wanted to come in and try it out. I won't be offended if you don't like it, but most of the time, once you get in here and you start swinging, you really do find it's a fun music to play. The other really cool thing about jazz, I'd just like to remind you, is that this is a 100% American style of music. It was invented in America based upon all of the different styles of cultures we had mixing way down in Louisiana and New York City. And we can really say for sure this is ours. And I think that's an important thing to think about, like, why do we learn jazz? Well, that's one very good reason. So if you're interested in American music, this is the great place to start. Our last song for you, and thank you so much for being patient. Our last song for you is a rock tune. It's called Sunday Morning, and it will feature a couple of our older students, and we hope you enjoy, and thank you so much for sticking around. We very much appreciate it. This is Sunday Morning. Thank you very much. That was Emma on alto and Cam on the drum set. Thank you. Thank you very much again. Hope you have a great night.